Obviously, y'all know who we're playing. That was Kirby Smart Monday morning talking about Georgia's matchup with the Alabama Crimson Tide. The Dogs about a field goal favorite to win in Athens. The two teams have not played in Athens since 2015, a rain soaked afternoon in Athens. That was a miserable day for those of us on the field. It was really, really rainy. Another edition of what we're hearing here on Dog Post. I'm going to talk about a lot of things. A couple of the quotes have stood out to me uh, lately here. One of the ones was from an insider who said, "So much rides on this game," talking about really for Alabama. Um, Alabama has been in this position before with their backs against the wall. 2023 had to win it to get into the conference, win the conference championship to go into the college football playoff. Georgia was in the same position. Alabama won that game. 2021, Alabama had to win that game to get into the college football playoff. They won it. So there's been multiple times. 2017 national championship, 2018 college football playoff national championship game, had to win it that game and won it. And obviously in 2020, the conclusion of the 2021 season, same situation for Alabama, had to win it, didn't in that case. And that was a really important moment for Georgia. If Kirby were still chasing his first win over Alabama, that would be something else 10 years into this thing, considering how many times he's played. Here's a couple of things that came from ESPN earlier today I wanted to expand on. If Simpson looks good, talking about Ty Simpson, in an Alabama win, he enters the Heisman discussion, and Alabama's college football playoff bona fides gets a nice boost. If he struggles and Alabama loses, the college football playoff seems like a pipe dream. And here's another quote from from ESPN, this time about Tennessee. Tennessee's defense has been fine against teams not named Georgia. And then today, earlier, I think it was actually over the weekend, a former Alabama quarterback and the guy who's got the third most famous pass in series history, A.J. McCarron, had this to say about Alabama having a mental edge over Georgia. He said, if there's one team that has a mental hold on somebody, it's Alabama over Georgia. He might not be aware of Georgia Tech, but that's okay. He said that on the Dynasty podcast. He said, the one thing that concerns me if I'm a Georgia fan is their secondary. They gave up a ton of big plays that you don't normally see Georgia give up. Talking about against Tennessee. I was really surprised by that. I think they're still really tough to run the ball on. That's something that could play into their favor for sure. And we'll see. I think Alabama is expecting to get Jam back, so that could make a big difference for them. Hey, Freebird is really helping us out. I drank one on the last episode because I was coming in from a run, but I'll tell you, and this is a 19-ounce bottle or can, but it is very refreshing when you're tailgating, particularly this Saturday in Athens. I would mix a couple Freebirds in there with you, with all of your other festivities. Mama always said to drink more water. You're going to need to drink water. Mix some in there when you come in from a run like I do. Crack one of these open. It is made in the Blue Ridge Mountains up in North Georgia. I know a thing or two about that area. They've been great to work with. They're only a year old. But drink freely, born in the United States. They've been great partners so far. Freebird, mix it in. You can get them all over Atlanta, and you can get them in certain spots the rest of Georgia. Ask for it if you can't. And it's going to be very curious to see, this weekend, what happens with this game. The line has steadily ticked down towards Alabama. I have a theory about that. I think a lot of people, Alabama is essentially the Dallas Cowboys. People bet on them, or the Patriots in the past. People bet on them. They want them to win, all this stuff. You don't have legal betting in Georgia. That's another issue. And one of the things that we talk about in what we're hearing is, this Georgia team knows that this is an important game, but it's not a terminal game. So I wonder, coming into this thing, is Alabama going to be desperate? And I mean desperate in a good way. Like, are they going to come out fierce and all of that? If you watch them play Florida State, it's not like the Noles absolutely crushed them. That they did statistically for sure. I would say that. But if you watch the game, it was not like Alabama just got absolutely smoked the whole game. They got hurt by a running quarterback. Now, who has a running quarterback that you know of? Hmm? But Gunnar Stockton's made it work more with his legs more with his feet, his arm this first 3 weeks of the season than his legs. I mean, it's the legs are noticeable, but he has been very productive in terms of throwing it. I think the concern if you're Alabama, more than anything, is are they going to be able to stop the run? Are they going to be able to stop the run against Georgia? Like, it's not the end of the world, but they're giving up 138 on the ground, Alabama, going into this game. And the bulk of that came against Florida State. So, like, the Noles really, really ran on Alabama. They went for, 200? Let me look real quick. They went for 230. That's a lot. They ran it 50 times and went for 230. Now, the other real problem for Alabama coming into this thing is, a little bit like Tennessee. I wouldn't say completely like Tennessee, because Tennessee's predicated on the run, is what everybody will sit there and tell you. But, Alabama quite clearly has the ability, with those receivers are killers. I mean, they're really good. You want to throw it, you want that to sort of be a luxury. I think they got to do it. And I think that they may hit some balls against Georgia. Are they going to be able to run when they need to? That's my question with Alabama. Are they going to be able to run when they need to? Does it make a big difference that they have a returning running back who led them a season ago with 700-plus yards? That's got to make some difference. I don't know, though. I mean, I think there's a lot of, stuff waving, this is not quite right. This is not quite right. Talking about Alabama's situation coming into this game. They've got a lot to prove, and they've not proven it this season so far. I think playing on the road, away from Tuscaloosa, I think they have 2 wins total. One at Wisconsin last season, and then, of course, their win last week against Wisconsin don't look so hot suddenly. I mean, Wisconsin's not good. I mean, they are 1-2. They got absolutely destroyed this past week by Iowa. Who was that? Maryland. Yeah, I mean, they got eaten up by Maryland. They lost 21-10 at home. One of the touchdowns was late in the game, as I recall. Yeah, with 28 seconds to play. I mean, they didn't score in the first half. This is a Maryland team that's fine or whatever, but Wisconsin's not what you're going to judge Alabama by. It's going to be this game. And they've got a lot to prove. Both these teams do. Georgia's not proven they can beat Alabama. It's that easy. I mean, they won the national championship against them. That's completely true. I was there. But I think, in this case, Georgia needs to go out and either prove to themselves or whatever that they can beat Alabama. This is not a great Alabama team. I will be straight up floored if this team wins the Southeastern Conference or wins the national championship. Particularly will be floored if that's the case, because it's so much more difficult to do that than win the conference. But, it's do or die for Alabama. And, it's hard to win at Sanford Stadium. Alabama has had a hard time winning on the road. When you lose at Vanderbilt, you lose at Tennessee. I don't think there's any shame in losing at Tennessee, okay? You lose the bowl game to Michigan. You lose at Florida State. There was another game in there that I'm leaving out. At Oklahoma. Georgia is hard to play at. I mean, it's not so hard that you can't win there, but that's been the case lately. I mean, I'm trying to think of how many competitive games Georgia's had at home lately. There's not been a ton. So, you're asking a lot for Alabama to come in there and win that game. I'm a little surprised the line is as low as it is. There's a lot of respect for Alabama out there in the betting market. Be very curious to see what the line is against Vanderbilt the week later, no matter what happens with this one. I mean, is Alabama going to be a double-digit favorite at home to Vanderbilt? I mean, Vanderbilt can beat them. So this is not a game where Georgia has to win it. I think Georgia's got at least 2 more losses where they can play with to where you start talking about must-win games. But I think the more games that you win, the further along you are to the must-win conversation doesn't enter into the, into the equation at all. But I do have some other stuff on what we were hearing. I want to make sure you're checking that story out. Um, it's one of the most popular things on Dawg Post. I've got something about the Louisville game and, sort of where we're at with the Louisville game. Georgia's supposed to play Florida State in the next couple of years. They're supposed to play Clemson in the next couple of years. Are those games going to survive? And are they? And what will be around surrounding those games? That's the question too. Is where are we really at here? With this ninth game coming in, that was a pretty important day in the SEC, figuring out who Georgia's playing and so forth. So they've got Alabama this week, no doubt. Big game. No game day. So not even the biggest game in the college football weekend. It's kind of curious. But hey, let's just see what happens. Georgia and Alabama, Saturday night in Athens. Thanks for watching.